December 2002. A movie arrives in theaters that took one man 32 years to finally bring to the screen. It cost more than $100 million, nearly brought down one of Hollywood's most powerful studios, and included method acting so extreme that a doctor had to step in before someone actually died during production. Gangs of New York was meant to be Martin Scorsese's ultimate masterpiece. Instead, it turned into one of cinema's most intriguing disasters and one of its most misunderstood victories. Most viewers believed they understood the film after watching it. They didn't. Because hidden beneath the blood and flames of the 5 points are secrets that were never supposed to come to light. 25 of them. And by the time this journey ends, you will never see this film in the same way again. Number 1. Scorsese didn't simply admire this story. He was completely consumed by it. On January 1st, 1970, a struggling and unknown director picked up a worn 1928 book titled The Gangs of New York by Herbert Asbury. He finished it in one sitting. Within those pages, he saw something nobody else noticed: the brutal, chaotic, blood-soaked birth of American democracy. He didn't just want to turn it into a film.
He felt he had to.
The problem was that no one in Hollywood agreed. Universal, Disney, Warner Brothers, Fox, Paramount, MGM, every major studio rejected it. The massive failure of Heaven's Gate in 1980 had left executives terrified of expensive historical productions. So Scorsese waited. And waited. For 29 years, he carried the story with him while creating films like Raging Bull, Goodfellas, and Casino. It wasn't until 1999 that Harvey Weinstein at Miramax finally approved the project. 32 years passed between discovery and production. No other Scorsese film has taken anything close to that long. This wasn't simply a movie. It was an obsession finally unleashed. Number 2. George Lucas stepped onto the set and made a prediction. While shooting his Star Wars prequel Attack of the Clones, Lucas visited the enormous gangs of New York production at Cinecittà Studios in Rome. In front of him stood what production designer Dante Ferretti had built: more than a mile of mid-19th century Manhattan created completely from scratch. 5 entire city blocks of the 5 Point slum. The East River waterfront with 2 full-size sailing ships docked beside it. Tammany Hall. Churches. Saloons. Even a Fifth Avenue mansion. Every structure was physical. Everything was real. Lucas studied it and told Scorsese something that sent a chill through the crew. He said this would likely be the last time anyone constructed something this elaborate in the real world. He was correct. Within a decade, digital set design replaced nearly everything they were looking at. That massive set became one of the last of its kind in cinema history. And almost nobody realized they were witnessing the end of an era. Number 3. Daniel Day-Lewis developed pneumonia and refused treatment. The winter of 2000 in Rome was extremely harsh. Night shoots often took place in freezing temperatures. While the rest of the cast wrapped themselves in warm coats between takes, Day-Lewis rejected any modern comfort. His character Bill the Butcher lived in 1863. Antibiotics did not exist then. So Day-Lewis refused to use them. When he collapsed and doctors diagnosed pneumonia, they prescribed antibiotics. He refused the prescription. His reasoning was simple and completely consistent with his method. Bill the Butcher wouldn't have had this medicine, so neither would he. As his condition worsened, he continued walking the streets of Rome in character, even starting confrontations with strangers while remaining in the mindset of a man who had never heard of penicillin. Eventually, the production team had to intervene. They didn't argue about his health. Instead, they told him the film would die if he did. That was the only argument he accepted. Day-Lewis later admitted he had, in his own words, gone completely mad. That intensity appears in every scene he performs. Number 4. Bill the Butcher's glass eye was not a simple prop. It covered his real eye. Most actors playing a character with a glass eye use a contact lens or cosmetic effect. Day-Lewis had an actual prosthetic glass eye placed directly over his real one. Then he took it further. He practiced for weeks learning to tap the tip of a razor-sharp knife against the glass surface without flinching. Not a prop blade. Not a dull knife. A genuine razor-edged blade, striking the glass prosthetic covering his real eye. This moment was never written in the script. Day-Lewis improvised it during filming, leaving his co-stars horrified as he repeated the action without reacting. When audiences watch Bill casually tap a blade against his eye, they are not watching an illusion. They are watching a real person perform something genuinely dangerous to his own face. That's why the moment feels so disturbing, because it is real. Number 5. 2 Irish circus performers traveled to Ireland to train a Hollywood actor in knife throwing. Day-Lewis didn't stop with the knife-tapping practice. He hired 2 professional circus performers who specialized in blade work and invited them to his home in Wicklow, Ireland for weeks of private training. Every day, he practiced throwing knives with accuracy and learning to handle blades the way someone raised around them would. Someone who treated a knife as naturally as a hand. But he still wanted more authenticity. Day-Lewis then spent several weeks working inside a real butcher shop. Not visiting. Actually working there daily. He studied anatomy, cutting techniques, and the relationship a butcher forms with a blade after years of practice. The casual familiarity with blood. The precise understanding of where a cut belongs. When viewers watch Bill the Butcher handle knives in the film, they are watching someone who truly understands how to use them. That level of detail cannot be faked, and Day-Lewis refused to fake anything. Number 6. He never stepped out of character. Not during meals. Not on weekends. Not even when a frightened waitress avoided his table. During the entire production, Day-Lewis spoke only in Bill the Butcher's intimidating Yankee dialect. Not just while filming, constantly. On the last day of shooting, Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio convinced him to celebrate with dinner. He sat down, ordered food, and spoke entirely in Bill's voice throughout the meal. The waitress became so uncomfortable that she refused to return to their table. Actor John C. Reilly experienced something even stranger. After spending a friendly family weekend with Day-Lewis, he approached him Monday morning to thank him. Day-Lewis responded fully in character with words that can't be repeated here. The message was unmistakable. Daniel Day-Lewis didn't exist during that production. Only Bill the Butcher did. Number 7. The role nearly went to 3 completely different actors. When Scorsese began seriously developing the project in 1978, he imagined Saturday Night Live stars Dan Aykroyd as Amsterdam Balin and John Belushi as Bill the Butcher. Picture that for a moment, Belushi's chaotic intensity portraying New York's most feared gang leader. The plan collapsed after Belushi's death in 1982. Over the following years, the casting changed dramatically. Robert De Niro even accepted the role at one point, but later withdrew when he learned the production required 6 months in Europe. Then another surprising offer appeared. Tom Hanks, America's beloved everyman, was offered the role and loved the script.
However, scheduling conflicts with Road to Perdition prevented him from doing it. Finally, in 1999, Daniel Day-Lewis accepted, 21 years after Scorsese first began casting. The iconic performance audiences know today could have looked completely different. Number 8. The Dead Rabbits gang wasn't named after actual rabbits. The name might sound theatrical or humorous, but its origin is different. The word rabbit comes from the Irish Gaelic word rabid, meaning a man to be feared. In Irish-American slang of the 5 points, dead meant very. Combined together, the phrase roughly means a man greatly to be feared. It wasn't a colorful nickname. It was a coded threat. Their battle flag even displayed a dead rabbit impaled on a pike, carried into fights as both symbol and warning. The corrupted Gaelic phrase served 2 purposes: identifying fellow Irish immigrants who understood its meaning while confusing the nativist gangs who didn't. The name itself was a message hidden in plain sight. Number 9. The budget spiraled out of control and Scorsese returned his entire salary. The production originally began with an $83 million budget, already massive for Miramax. Then delays began. Scorsese's perfectionism repeatedly extended the shooting schedule, maintaining huge hand-built sets, feeding hundreds of extras, and filming abroad caused expenses to climb rapidly. By the time filming ended, the cost had passed $100 million. Harvey Weinstein, fearing the collapse of his studio, had to sell international distribution rights for around $65 million just to keep the project alive. During this crisis, Scorsese made a shocking decision. He returned every dollar of his directing salary. After waiting 32 years to make this film, he refused to let money destroy it. Leonardo DiCaprio also accepted a reduced salary. Later internal Disney documents revealed that despite respectable box office performance, the film still lost around $6 million. The only film that saved Miramax financially that year was Chicago. Number 10. The accent used by Day-Lewis was reconstructed from a dead poet's voice. Voice coach Tim Monick faced an unusual challenge, recreating a New York accent from the 1860s when no audio recordings from that time existed. Eventually he discovered one clue, an 1892 wax cylinder recording of Walt Whitman reciting 4 lines of poetry. In the recording, Whitman pronounces earth as uth, and his vowels sound strangely nasal and unfamiliar to modern ears. From those few lines, Monick reconstructed how mid-19th century nativist New Yorkers might have spoken. The voice Day-Lewis uses as Bill the Butcher isn't invented. It's reconstructed from the only surviving audio hint of that era. When audiences hear Bill speak, they are hearing a voice from a lost world rebuilt from a dead poet's recording. Number 11. Hellcat Maggie truly existed. The terrifying female fighter seen in the opening battle wasn't created for the movie. She was inspired by a real 5 Points figure known as Hellcat Maggie. According to historical accounts, she filed her front teeth into sharp points to injure enemies during fights. She also wore long brass artificial nails designed like claws, used to slash opponents. These weren't decorations. They were weapons attached to her body. She died in 1845 at the age of 25, and her existence appears in historical records of the period. Scorsese didn't invent her character. He simply restored her place in the violent world she came from. Number 12. The real Bill the Butcher had already died before the film's events. The historical figure William Poole, who inspired the character, was a real gang leader and bare-knuckle boxer with strong anti-immigrant views. However, he was killed years before the Civil War draft riots of 1863 that form the film's climax. Scorsese wanted his villain present during that chaos, so he extended the character's life by nearly a decade. To hint at the historical difference, he changed the character's surname. The real man was